Hi guys, my name is Chad Troftgruben, and I would like to welcome you to the third episode of Chad Chat. Last week I took a break because it was Thanksgiving, and I figured most of you guys would be with your families or eating food or something. So I took a break and decided to be lazy, but now I'm back to answer all of your important questions. So this week I got an email from a viewer who basically asked me, he's a filmmaker, and he asked me what it basically takes to go from filmmaking to animation. He had some questions regarding that process, and I'll read the email here. He said, I am a filmmaker and want to learn how to make animations. What is the best starting point? What is the software I need? I want to turn my animations into video, and can you advise me, please? So, Nelson, I will answer your question to the best of my ability in today's episode of Chad Chat. I'll start out by saying this. I do have a background in filmmaking. I have been making films for a number of years, mostly for fun. I also have a company that I co-own that specializes in commercials and viral ads for other businesses. I also am currently a major in film and media studies, so I do have some knowledge in filmmaking. Also, I do of course have knowledge in animation as well. So to answer your first question, where do you begin? I would advise that you start with looking at animations that you admire, looking at styles that you like, and trying to figure out your own style through that. What do you want to do with the animation? The good thing about filmmaking and animation is, for the most part, there are a lot of similar links. You're going to want to write a script, you're going to want to organize it, you're going to want to compose the shots so that they're pleasing, and you're going to want to make sure the flow of the movie works. You're going to want to probably, maybe, depending on what the script calls for, hire voice actors, maybe someone to compose the music, that sort of thing. So there are a lot of similar elements. Of course, there are different elements. For instance, you're not filming, you're basically designing the sets, by drawing. So of course, that's a major difference. Of course, the other major difference is that you're going to be animating. So those are no-brainer differences, of course, but the point is, they do have similar links. So the fact that you are a filmmaker, I would say, gives you more of an advantage than anyone else who's just stepping in, to begin. But my first advice to you, again, is to look at different animations. Because, of course, when you're making films, you look to other films for inspiration, for visual inspiration, and that sort of thing. So I would do that first. The next step is I would get some books, research the subject by getting some books. And I can post some links on the YouTube comments section here just so you guys can look at different books that might interest you. But I would also, again, research the subject as best as you can. Steep yourself in the subject and get to know all the ins and outs of the history of the animation process and that sort of thing. I know that's probably going a bit too far. Maybe you're not that interested in it. But it's always good to know what you're getting into before you get into it. So I would also research and read. So now the question of what software do you want to use? Well, to start with, I would advise that you look between Flash and Anime Studio. And I have another video, the first Chad Chat, where I describe the differences between these two softwares. So I would definitely recommend checking that out. But just as a basic overview, I would say that if you are looking to just dive in and animate right off the bat, I would go for Anime Studio. You don't have as much control over the animation when it comes to frame by frame and interactivity and that sort of thing. That's what Flash can give you, but it is cheaper and it will allow you to get results quicker. And you can polish it up and make it look pretty good. So that would be my advice for a beginner when it comes to diving into the animation process. Whether you're from a filmmaking background or whether you're just a total beginner, that's what I would advise. If you're looking for something more in the long run, though, you might want to look at Flash. My advice would be to download both demos and try them out for yourself. Now, another element here where you have an advantage from being a filmmaker is that you can use video editing software that you might have used in your other projects and incorporate them into your animations. For instance, whenever I make an animation, I usually break it up into chunks. When I have, let's say, a 10-minute movie, I might have several sections that I animate individually and I break them up and I export those as video, which is the answer to your third question. I then compile them all into a video editing software like Adobe Premiere or Final Cut, and then I can edit the video just like I would as if I were doing a live action video. And that gives you an advantage because, again, you have that knowledge already, and that will allow you to polish up your video further, as opposed to if you didn't have that knowledge prior. You would have to learn another software in order to achieve that. So that is just another example. So to overview, where do you begin? I would begin by researching, looking at different videos, reading some books, looking at tutorials. If you're looking for animation tutorials, of course, shameless plug, I offer plenty of tutorials. So you could look at my tutorials as well. Next step would be then to try out demos between Flash and Anime Studio. I recommend Anime Studio for beginners, but if you're looking for more interactivity or if you're looking for frame-by-frame animation, you might want to consider Flash. And finally, then I would recommend that you use your video editing software to polish up the video, use some post-production techniques that you might have learned from your filmmaking background to bring your animations forward with a more polished look. So that is my advice for you when it comes to transitioning from filmmaking to animation. Well, that wraps up my answer to you for this week. I hope you found it useful, and hopefully you can get started on your animation work. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to send them to me. You can go to chadchat.incredibletutorials.com. You can find me on Twitter. You can, of course, post comments on YouTube, or you can contact me on my pages that can be found on Google Plus and Facebook. So anyway, I hope you guys found this video useful, and I'll see you next week.